Good afternoon. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and today we're going to take a look at the short range forecast for Southeast Virginia, as well as a little bit of the longer range and how the weather pattern may be setting up through mid-July. So starting off with the current weather in the satellite image, right now at the Spot On Weather studios, we have a temperature of 92.7 degrees Fahrenheit, almost 93, with the humidity dropping down now to 46%. That is mainly due to the westerly, west-southwesterly, but mostly that westerly wind component has actually dried the air mass out somewhat. The barometric pressure, 1,009 millibars and falling. And around the region, you can see some of the readings. As of the latest hour, Richmond has a partly cloudy sky at 91 degrees. Relative humidity at 44%, the pressure at 29.86 inches, and the winds are westerly at 17 miles per hour. Hot around the region as a whole. Petersburg, partly cloudy, 90. Charlottesville is clear and 88. Norfolk at the airport, clear and 93. Virginia Beach at the Oceana Naval Air Station, it is also very warm at 93 degrees with partly cloudy conditions. And then Lynchburg, also partly cloudy, 84. So very warm across the region. Looking at the satellite image here, valid 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time today, the brighter cloud features here on the visible imagery indicate where you have your thunderstorms developing. Over our region here in Southeast Virginia, a relatively clear afternoon to this point. There are a few scattered cumulus clouds popping up out there in the heating of the day, but you do not see any specific areas of thunderstorm concern at the present time. There are a couple scattered thunderstorms over North Carolina, more substantial coverage of thunderstorms over eastern Tennessee in the mountainous areas there, and also some down over northern Florida into Alabama as well. Weather analysis for today on the 8th of July, what we have going on is this area here, this little wavy area here represents the jet stream. And the jet stream is important in the fact of how it steers systems in the upper levels of the atmosphere, as well as what kind of temperatures are associated with the jet stream. So when you have a dip in the jet stream that makes a U-shaped pattern like this, that generally leads to cooler conditions north of that particular dip in the jet stream. But when the jet stream builds up in the form of this huge ridge or upside down U-shape, that's associated with a lot of heat. So what do we have going on currently today is we have a trough of lower pressure or a dip in the jet stream extending from Minnesota into the Midwest, Illinois, in through Ohio and Pennsylvania. And that's allowing for some cooler air to try to spill southeastward out of eastern Canada. Now it's July, so we're not expecting a very big cool down, but this pattern is going to allow a cold front to pass through Southeast Virginia later this afternoon and tonight, which will bring the relative humidity down lower tomorrow for Sunday, as well as will bring the temperatures down into the middle 80s for highs tomorrow. Looking at the overall temperature pattern, the reds, the maroons, and the purples indicate the hottest temperature readings, while the blues and the greens, and even these lighter yellow colors over New England and over the upper Midwest, that's cooler temperatures. And that's generally what we're looking for on that particular chart. So the heat continues. There's been a lot of stories on the news about the wildfires over the western United States, and this heating out here in the west just continues, and that is because they're under this huge upper level ridge. And whenever you have an upper level ridge, you generally have an upper level high, and that air sinks. Whenever you have upper level high overhead in the upper atmosphere, the air sinks, and as the air sinks, it dries, it compresses, and ultimately heats up. So now we're going to go ahead into the forecast. What are we looking at for tomorrow, Sunday the 9th of July? The jet stream pattern becomes a little bit less pronounced into the eastern United States, and this ridge also flattens a little bit. And what I mean by flattens, if we go back here one slide again, you'll notice how this pattern, this amplitude is a little bit more pronounced on the 8th of July, and it flattens a little bit here on the 9th of July. And the overall pattern is a trough in the east. There's still that ridge in the west. The resulting temperatures are very hot, continued over the desert southwest, and cooler temperatures in the eastern United States. Again, this is not a huge cool down. This time of year, we have a very high sun position We have a very intense solar radiation, so the air masses will rapidly modify this time of year and heat up. So looking at the surface chart, what we can expect for southeast Virginia tomorrow, this 1019 millibar high situated over the Ohio Valley will actually help push a front through the area. This front is going to be sitting basically offshore of southeast Virginia by tomorrow morning by 0800 8 a.m. local time. This high pressure will filter in a wind shift more to the north, a temporary shift to the north of the winds, and that is going to result in this drier, slightly cooler, and less humid day tomorrow. We are not expecting any thunderstorms tomorrow across southeast Virginia. We believe most of the thunderstorm activity will remain to the south over the eastern North Carolina and Outer Banks area. High temperatures tomorrow will drop off. We're in the lower 90s today, low to mid 90s region-wide today. Tomorrow we expect the high temperatures only be in the primarily the middle 80s, it looks like, at this time. The forecast for Monday, 10 July, the jet stream pretty much becomes more of a ridge-type pattern, continues in the west, not as pronounced. We still have that troughing, this huge upper-level low over eastern Canada, and the troughing associated with this long-wave trough. And then as far as the temperatures go, that heat remains over the desert southwest, the western United States as a whole. But as we move into time, you'll see these little spokes of heat trying to propagate their way eastward a little more into the Midwest and even shooting across to the eastern United States. And you'll see that here momentarily. As far as the forecast goes for our area on Monday, the 10th of July, we're going to remain dry, but still slightly warmer and more humid. We'll be a little bit more warm and humid on Monday as compared to Sunday. The high temperatures will rise into the middle to upper 80s by Monday, and we do expect scattered showers and thunderstorms again remain primarily southeast of southeast Virginia, so we don't expect a lot as far as rain showers on Monday. We do have this upper level disturbance, if you notice, 1,004 millibars if you're have travel into the Midwest like Chicago, into eastern Iowa, Minneapolis. There is a system that may produce some strong to severe thunderstorms in the upper Midwest on Monday. Just FYI if you're heading that way. Now, looking for the forecast at Tuesday, 11 July, this upper level low remains strong over eastern Canada. The jet stream flattens out and becomes more west to east or zonal across the eastern United States. It's pretty zonal across the west, actually. The ridge temporarily breaks down. That suppresses the heat a little further south over the western United States, which will be a nice break for them out there. And you'll see this little red line here. That's starting to propagate more into Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. This little spoke of heat's trying to come off the main area of heat off in the western United States. So temperatures are definitely going to heat up across the upper Midwest by Tuesday. As far as southeast Virginia goes, we are looking for scattered showers and thunderstorms across our area as this frontal system remains stationary. The front that comes through Saturday night and Sunday morning will just basically stall out south of our area along the Virginia and North Carolina border. So we do expect scattered showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon hours on Tuesday, with high temperatures in the upper 80s climbing all the way back into the lower 90s. And unfortunately, we're going to have more of a southwest wind flow on the back of this Bermuda high. South-southwest winds will bring in much more muggy air again into southeast Virginia. And then for Wednesday, the 12th of July, taking a look, again, more of a zonal wind pattern with the upper level jet stream winds at 30,000 feet. This upper level low remains strong over eastern Canada, and you'll see these little spokes of reds and oranges. This little spoke of red really heats things up over our area by Wednesday as some of this energy, or this heat energy, tries propagating again east across the U.S. instead of just remaining confined out here in the west. So it will heat up on Wednesday. And in longer range, what are we looking at longer range? Let's go out to the 15th of July, mid-month, and you look at this ridge building back up again over the western United States. So on the 12th of July, it's more flat, more west to east as far as the jet stream blows. But then by the 15th, this huge upper high begins to build again into the western United States and more of a troughing pattern in the east. So that's going to result in a very hot air mass again building over the western United States. Again, they're having a very difficult time getting a break, getting some rain into the west to where they can get some relief from the wildfires. And then to end the segment today, this video, we've been watching this really closely over the last couple days. And I'm not trying to alarm anybody, but I'm just going to mention this as a possibility. There could be some tropical trouble in the long run for the United States. Some of the models, the European model and the American GFS model, have been going back and forth with the possibility of developing a tropical system for the period between the 19th of July and the 23rd of July. And what I want to show you here is this is the latest infrared satellite image picture of the waves that come off the African continent. This time of year, it's not really the Cabo Verde season, which that typically occurs later in hurricane season in August and September. But these waves, these little clusters of thunderstorms, these bright little patch areas, they are rolling off of Africa, and some of them are fairly strong for this early in the season. And what they do is they basically go and will move from the east toward the west, following the tropical easterly trade wind belt. So we have to keep an eye. There's one just coming off the coast now. There's one further back over Central Africa where you get a lot of convergence of air and very intense heating at that lower latitude, which generates these thunderstorms. But we have to watch these systems as they propagate across the Atlantic Ocean in the tropical areas. So again, don't want to alarm anybody on this, but this is a possibility. The models are indicating at something possibly developing, one of these waves coming off the coast, developing into this possibility. This was this morning's 06Z run for the American GFS model, showed a 984 central pressure tropical system sitting off the coast of the Carolinas. And again, it's way too early to tell, even if something were to develop, where it would go, the position of the ridge in the Atlantic Ocean and how it steers it. It's all dependent on a lot of things. There's many scenarios that could happen with this, but just wanted to remind everybody again that it is hurricane season, and now is the time to prepare your family. If you live anywhere along the Gulf Coast of the United States, Florida, or up the East Coast, now is the time to prepare for the possibility of a landfalling hurricane. And so get those hurricane kits together and start thinking of a plan for your family. It's never too early. All right, that wraps up the segment for today for Spot On Weather. And remember, if we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. I really hope everybody has a great weekend. Try to stay cool today on Saturday. It's very warm and hot today, but hopefully you get out tomorrow. The humidity is a little bit lower and you get to enjoy that. All right, that wraps it up. Everybody have a great weekend. That is all. Have a good weekend.